you ready? Here we go. You just can't beat this one.
Now, last time I got the old stank eye from a bunch of people for not showing how much gas was in the tank. So, in my effort to avoid these problems, push the button, show you the indicator, verify that these things are full of electrons. Now it's showtime, baby. What I want to do to start with, and I'm sure that I'm going to get like, oh, this is, you know, you're losing parasitic loss through the device, you know, resistance loss through the cables. There's a million different factors that could account for the performance through the battery, right? So what I want to do to start with is kind of get a baseline. We're going to, with each of the tools, and then we're going to be able to compare, like frame for frame, whether or not this little gizmo that I rigged up actually affects the tool's ability to do the thing that it does. So one more again, we're going to do this. We're going to start each one . Time. And to try to keep things as fair as possible, I'm going to run 3 of them sequentially down the same portion of the board. Try to avoid the knots and other nasty anomalies. There we go. 7 again, just to make sure that I'm on the up and up. Not great. So I was so perplexed with the performance of this drill that I went to Home Depot and I procured me a new unit. Exactly the same model, the DCF809. So we're gonna see if I just had a lemon or if these tools really do suck.
How did you make this?
All right, so here we go, the new drill.
Which one's which, the new and the old?
Yeah, so this is the old one, that's the new one. We're at 7 across the board. 7, 7. Okay, you ready? Set, go.
I mean, you know.
The old one just, something was wrong with it. And I only used this drill a few times. It's, I mean, that's a telling story, really, about the longevity and you know, the quality of these tools. Like, I never fed this tool a hot supper, ever. I never put it up wet. Even after, what I did with this tool primarily was I used it for drapery installation, which is about as easy a life as a tool could possibly have. I just use it to screw anchors into the wall to hang high-end drapery hardware. So what a telling story. I mean, I'm really glad that I went to buy the new one to really see if it was the tool that was a lemon or if the tool really sucked from the factory. And now we know that These don't age well. It's, you know, not fine wine for sure. All right, so I put a fresh charge in the batteries.
Charged up.
Just show you that they're full. All right, so here we go. Drag racing.
All right, just show you hammers.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. Round one. Ready, set. There it is.
What did I tell you?
Make sure you're in the right gear.
To the left, to the left.
All right, ready, set.
Ready? Yeah, go.
Perfect.
That's a good word to hear.
Yep.
Ooh, yo.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Here we go. You just can't beat this one.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay. Oh.
yes, sir. I know. It's okay.
Well, that was pretty dadgum interesting. I think that the prudent place to start with these test results is with the Dewalt sisters. And the old one is definitely the redheaded stepchild of the family. I was astonished at the results from these tests. The old Dewalt, maybe it was a lemon from the factory. I didn't notice that it was underwhelming performance. I've got an old Milwaukee, and I realized that it was, you know, it was a better tool, but I didn't see that it was like, you know, by an order of magnitude better than the Dewalt, and obviously was after we see the test results. The Dewalt is by far the most comfortable tool, and this is made by a different manufacturer than the Ryobi and the Milwaukee. They're actually made by the same company, TTI Tektronic Industries. So the test results from the drag racing and then the power analyzer. So the Dewalt average over all the runs was 9.05 seconds. The average watt pull was 429 watts. The average amperage was 22.94 amps. Right, and the way that you get watts is you multiply voltage times amps, and then you come up with watts. Another thing that was kind of crazy, and it's a testimony to the chintzy build quality, was straight from the factory. I was having trouble getting the chuck collar does not fully disengage. I've been working it. Sometimes it does work, but check this out. So take a gander. Like this one on the new tool obviously does not come up as far. It's catching, and the way that these collars work for these for the hex tools is there's these ball bearings that run around the perimeter of it, and when you pull the collar up, there's spring-loaded ball bearings, and then they detent and pull away. It's just, God, it's annoying. It's the dickens. Anyway, that's the Dewalt. Not impressed. The definitive third place tool. Now we're going to ease on over to the Ryobi. I think that the Ryobi was very much the second place tool. I was super impressed. I've never used Ryobi tools. And of course, this is the brushed DC. I think it's a Mabuchi, which is a very quality Japanese brand name brush motor legacy company. They produce excellent parts. So the Ryobi drag time averaged over all of its runs was 8.53 seconds. The average power draw was 547 watts, and the average amp load was 30.56 amps, or that was the peak load actually. Another interesting thing to acknowledge was the fact that the Ryobi ran out of steam really quick. I think that the battery packs used by Ryobi sucked. It's not super high quality cells. Another thing that I think that people normally wouldn't see is look at these tiny little power leads. You know, they're 14 gauge, I think. That seems to me, that's underwhelming. And that seems to be, I would consider that to be too small to deliver a solid, 30 amps over a long duration. It would create considerable heat buildup in the battery pack and in the internal components, the potentiometer of the trigger. And I think that would not be good. That certainly would not translate to long-term durability for the tool. You would absolutely not want to use this in an industrial environment. It would give up the ghost quick, fast, and in a hurry. So the first place tool, bar none, was the Milwaukee. And it was really cool to see the insides because they cut every corner imaginable on the electronics except for the motor. And this is what I would consider to be fantastic engineering. They didn't waste any time potting the electronics, putting like super quality components in there. They just gave it a big old skookum motor, and then they said, that's it. That's all we need. I think that's fantastic marketing. So the average drag time of this tool was 8.34 seconds. Peak power draw was 542 watts, and then the peak amp load was 30.65 amps. So first place, second place, and then the stinker third place. I hope that this was enlightening. I absolutely love testing tools. I've got some really exciting things in the works, and I'm fixing to talk about them right now. Okay, so I've got two more of the JOs in the pipeline. One of them I think is moderately interesting, and the other one I think is very, very interesting. So I'm going to tear down the chargers, the batteries, and we're going to evaluate the cells, the components, the build quality, what kind of pull these things have from the walls, how fast we think they're going to charge the batteries. I'm also going to use this battery analyzer to really dig deep into the quality of the components inside the battery. So this Milwaukee has 47 amps, and if you recall earlier in the video, the Dewalt or the Ryobi or whichever one we tested had like 34. So this is a significantly higher quality battery pack. 20.53 volts, that's relative. So 55.25 mega ohms of resistance, and I'll tell you more about that in the video, what that means. This is just the state of charge, so 98%. This is the battery health, and I can tell you about that too. And of course the cold cranking amps, which is probably the most important metric to use when evaluating batteries. Now the second video is a humdinger for sure. So I'm going to take this monstrosity of for RC cars, and I'm going to hook it up to the Ryobium, and we're going to see what happens when we literally turbocharge a tool. Are we going to burn it up? Are we going to create the best tool ever to grace God's green earth? I don't know, but we're definitely going to see. Till next time,